I had to cut out pieces of you going, or that weird,
that laughing.
This one.
The laugh of my nightmares. Dude, what is up with the freaking weather in Texas?
It's so sad.
Oh my gosh.
No.
It's so sad. People just like no water because everything's bursting, and it's sad.
And even like if the weather clears up, like how long is it going to take for them to get everything back online?
You know what I was thinking? Are they going to get giant water bills? Because here, I could totally see the city of Glendale being like, yes, your water bill is $10 million and you're going to pay it. It's not our fault your stuff bursted.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting how they deal with that.
I know. I told my mom, I was like, I'm this close to writing my ex-husband because he lives out there. Just to be like, hope y'all are doing okay.
Right.
Like,
why the hell would you want to?
I was messaging
He threatened you.
Renee, because they live in Kyle, Texas, which is kind of between San Antonio and Austin. So it's like,
okay.
Yeah. And she says, yeah. I messaged her the other day and she's like, we're fine. We're just kind of like enjoying it. It was like at the beginning of it for them. And then like yesterday, she's like, oh, we're fine. We're a little hungry, but because there's no food, but we're okay. I'm like, oh, wow.
This is what people have asked me with this whole politics and stuff. And they were like, is Spirit showing you something like war stuff? And I'm like, no, but a long time ago, they were showing me like an old-fashioned flashlight and like a kind of radio and just to kind of have an emergency prep kit of stuff. And I went out to the kids. This was a long time ago, and I'm like, hey, so I'm pretty sure we're supposed to do this or like at least start thinking about it. So I'm telling people, if you're getting something like that, it's not because World War III is happening. I feel like it's more like natural disaster type stuff. And sure enough, the stuff is happening.
That's just crazy.
So it's a good reminder. We should, like between fires and floods and now this, I mean, we should probably all have some backup of some sort.
And then I was reading that, like, as we live in Arizona, Phoenix is going to be pretty much uninhabitable in like a few, like before.
I think you said, I think it was like 10 years or something.
Yeah.
Like a decade.
Holy moly.
Is it a decade? I thought it was like more than that.
I think did it? Oh, I don't know. I thought it's a decade. Isn't a decade 10 years?
There's no water?
I don't know.
In 10 years, it's going to be pretty bad.
Guess we better start thinking of moving.
Yeah. I did see that article. And Garrett's like, yeah, and you wanted to move out there?
I'd go to New Mexico.
New Mexico? Yeah, but are they going to be the ones getting hit by the cold? That's the thing where I say that words matter. Like when they were talking about defund the police. Yeah. It's not defund the police. It's like, reallocate. And like this one, it was, the message was global warming. It's not global warming, it's climate change. Like it's one of those things that sticks in people. They're like, oh yeah, so much for global warming, look at Texas.
I remember I bought my ex-husband Al Gore. That's how many years ago it was. He made a whole little documentary about global warming, climate change,
right? And
it predicted everything that's happening.
Oh yeah.
And I gave that to my ex-husband. I wouldn't watch it because I don't want to know. I know what's coming. I recycle anything and everything because I'm like, my kids are like, oh my God, why do you have all this? I'm like, I care. If you're going to bring my grandchildren into the world, I want them to have a world to come to.
What was that movie with Dennis Quaid where like all of North America was like basically just covered in ice and snow, like within days? Because there was this mega storm or whatever, like a once.
Oh my gosh, I know which one you're talking about.
It was with Dennis Quaid. He had to get to his son. I can't even think of it right now. Yeah. But that's what made me think of. It made me think of Texas.
I gotta get on IMDb. Thank you. Because I'm gonna. Was it Dennis Quaid?
Yeah, it was definitely Dennis Quaid.
The Day After Tomorrow.
Day After Tomorrow. Have you seen that one?
I don't know. I don't think so.
It's such a good movie. It's such a good movie. Everything's a good movie to me. I feel like every time.
I mean, it just depends. There's some really interesting ones out there. Yeah. Okay, my really good movie that I recommend to everybody is Swiss Army Man.
I've never seen it.
It has to be one of my favorite, like, all-time movies.
Who's in it? I'm gonna write it down.
Daniel Radcliffe and Paul Dano. but it's a really bizarre movie. But if you're in a different state of mind, like, it's deep. You know, I mean, you don't have to be. It helps, you know, like, but it's a really deep movie, you know, and it's I don't know, it's one of my favorites, and I love to watch it all the time.
Do you now?
Like, I love this movie.
Do you now?
In a different state of mind?
Uh-huh. You just gave a lot away.
Like, when you do that, it just, you're really sitting there focused on it, you know, and you're getting to really...
Oh, yeah. I definitely focus on things. I would sit here and stare at this cup for like an hour and look at her red hair and, wow, you know, how does she swim with her legs all bound up like a fish? Oh, she is a fish. That's crazy.
I do that without happy stuff.
Anyways.
I mean, we've sat in Alma's porch for like hours just talking about music and like the crazy wavelengths and everything, like with Albert, because Albert gets extremely philosophical and real deep.
Yeah.
Like, he's deep as it is, but he's even deeper in that state of mind.
Yeah. So
I mean, I've had some mind-blowing conversations with him.
Okay, so I have to tell you the story. So we celebrated Albert's birthday on Valentine's Day. So the day before we celebrated Valentine's Day, Albert and I, and so he like went and got us Outback, and so we like had our Outback, and then we pulled our chairs up in front of the TV, like really close. So we're sitting there, and he starts talking to the dogs, like in Spanish, like "Vete pa allá, siéntate allá, go sit down," and like he's telling them in Spanish, like Spanglish. And I'm just sitting there, and okay, mind you, we've had a little edible before we sat down to watch TV, and I'm just thinking, you're channeling my dad, because you sound like my dad. You never talk to the dogs like this, ever. And he turns around and looks at me. And I didn't say it out loud. He turns around and looks at me. He's like, isn't that so weird that they understand Spanish?
You're having your own moment, and then he's like, having his own.
That's hilarious.
Oh my gosh. Isn't that so weird?
Isn't it? And I'm like, I feel like you're channeling my dad right now. And he's like, maybe I am.
Maybe he was.
I said, maybe they listen because my dad's constantly talking to them, which I wouldn't doubt. Anyways. I'm
trying to get comfortable. I'm sorry.
I see you flipping back and forth like a fish out of water.
My hips are hurting me. My hips are hurting.
Maybe we should start by saying,
hi.
Welcome to Tipsy Tales. I'm Alma.
I'm Carlene.
And I'm Bianca.
I know we should do this more often, but I'm going to just put this out there. Like, most of what we discuss is not meant for children. And especially this episode, because I am going to get a little bit graphic. So just throwing that little spoiler out there. Or not spoiler, but warning. Not made for children.
Disclosure.
I like to say fuck a lot, so you probably shouldn't.
Right.
Kids.
I never say fuck.
No.
Never.
Don't you fucking say it, Bianca.
What is that word?
Shit. Have you watched that one on Netflix? It's like a... Oh, God, I don't even know. It's got our favorite actor in it, Nicolas Cage.
Ugh, God.
They're breaking down all these cuss words.
It's the history of curse words?
History of curse words.
No,
and
I haven't seen it.
He's basically the host.
Really?
Yeah.
But
it's kind of funny, though.
How did he make it so far? Because
I don't know.
There's so many people that are like, if it's Nicolas Cage, I don't want to watch it.
And then he's one of those actors or people that you either hate him or you love him, and there's no in between. Mm-mm. And I can't say that I hate him.
I don't hate him either. I don't know him.
But I just don't really care to watch him.
I don't care to watch him.
He's not my favorite actor.
It's not like he is damn good actor.
He always is very, very, like, just, he overacts everything. Drives me crazy. Yeah. What about you?
I think when he was younger, his movies were a little bit better. But, I mean, it's not like they were ever like, oh my gosh, must watch again.
Right.
But yeah, no, he's just kind of different, and then he's kind of gone off the deep end a little bit lately too, which most do, you know. I don't know if you've seen him hanging around with Marilyn Manson recently.
Oh, after all the stuff that that's just come out about Marilyn Manson?
Like Johnny Depp could go off
not
the
recently,
rails,
but within the last couple of years.
Oh, okay.
But I still want to see Johnny Depp movies because he's really good and he's in some great movies.
Right.
But he can go off the rails all day long. I don't care. It doesn't affect the movies I watch.
No, but he's a good actor, though. I mean,
That's
you
what
see
I
his
mean.
versatility in all his movies.
Yeah,
you know?
he can have a fake accent all day long. It does not affect
That's the thing. The other guy is not versatile at all. He plays the same guy, or just like he's pretty much the same guy every time. I don't see a different person. Like with Johnny Depp, you can see him be that actor, like, or that take on that persona. Yeah, and I don't see that with Nicolas Cage.
No.
Yeah.
It's just me.
No.
It may just be me. I don't know.
Clearly, it's just the three of us that think that.
Yes.
And my daughter and a bunch of her friends on Twitter, because they all commented one time. And pretty much a lot of people.
Yeah.
I feel this.
I think you just have to be a fan to really like him.
But then, who are his fans?
There's people out there. Hey,
I mean,
if you are a fan of Nicolas Cage, you do you, boo.
Yeah, do you? You're all good. We're not judging you.
We're not judging you.
We're judging Nicolas Cage.
Exactly. It's not you. It's him.
It's Nicolas Cage and his shitty acting. Anywho, so we were just talking about Texas. Like, dude, our prayers are out to Texas.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
We hope this passes quickly.
I mean, I hate the state, but no one should go through anything like that.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, well, we have a lot of listeners in Texas. So
I have some very sweet clients in Texas, and I would hate for anything bad to be happening to them.
Yeah. And we have a lot of family.
I hate the state only for personal reasons. Well, for my ex-husband. That's it. I mean, I have friends out in Texas and family and stuff, but I just don't like Texas because he's out there. It's nothing. It's not them. It's him.
It's funny how you could block out like a whole region because somebody lives in that region. Like,
because they ruined it for me.
I got a little bit busy. I had wanted to get a really good wine to go with what we're talking about today. By the way, the story that I'm doing is the Black Dahlia. Yay! I've been wanting to do this one for a while. Dum 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 dum. And she's doing the Comedy Store, right?
Comedy Store.
Yes. And we talked about that one.
Mm-hmm.
Did you find a lot of stuff from this era? Like the gangster stuff?
Yes. I can't remember. I was watching it up until the minute I came here. I was watching stuff.
Were you? Yeah. I was writing up until the minute you came here.
I just wanted
me
to
doing my homework.
And you were.
I wanted to make sure I wasn't missing anything that might have been, because I'm like, it was hard to find stuff too, though.
Was it?
Yeah.
There was a haunting on the Black Dahlia.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. Ghost Adventures did something. And
of course he did.
Yeah.
You should hear what people say about him doing it. I couldn't watch it because I couldn't get to it on any of the things.
Oh no.
But yeah, people. Yeah, it's pretty funny. I had a good time listening to a lot of people. But I remember talking about her because that's the first time I even heard about her was when I did the thing on the hotel with Elisa Lam.
Oh.
Yeah, because there was something about her, I think that's close to where she died or something.
Yeah, I think it is. It's right around the corner.
Yeah.
Or actually, the hotel, I think there was a hotel she was staying at, is like right on Skid Row, off of Skid Row. So it wasn't the Cecil.
No, she wasn't staying there. No, but it was
a different,
nearby.
So something was, it was all in that area.
Or the park or something.
Yeah. Yeah, and I thought I heard there was a connection with the Comedy Store.
Well, I looked. I didn't see anything.
Huh. I don't know what I was... Maybe it was something else.
Yeah, because you briefly said something, so I was like, if we can connect it.
Yeah.
So I went through everything all over again, and I was reading stuff online. And
it's hard to keep track of the shit that I read anymore. So Albert posted something the other day. It was a bunch of different faces. It was like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it was like all these. Was it cat faces? I don't know.
It was dogs. It was
dog faces. Yeah. And so I fat fingered it and hit the wrong one. And I think he had just saw that I rented the Ghost Adventures on the thing, and he's like, "Are you watching murder mysteries again?" Because it was like a sad dog, like a crying dog.
Yeah.
I was like, "No, that's not what I meant to push."
Oh, that's funny.
Actually, the dog that I picked was wearing headphones. That was the one. I was like, "What mood are you in right now?" I'm like, that's me. Anywho.
Oh, look, we're both wearing skeletons today. You wearing a skeleton? I got a skeleton.
Shirt. I forget what it says. What does it say?
If you are easily provoked, you are easily controlled.
Yeah. Albert bought me this shirt. I don't know if it was a hint. No, he got us matching shirts. He has a shirt too. All right, so maybe I should just jump right into this.
You're so awkward.
I know.
It's such a big bottle. You see, it's like the size of her arm.
It's huge.
Jesus.
It's bigger.
You get fisted.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
Just a double fist with the thing, together.
Are you good?
No, you're stuck with us. I don't know if you want one.
In here.
I'm just gonna try it with the lemon.
All right, I'll have a little lemon.
A little squirt.
A splash. Splash.
Is there a difference between a squirt and a splash?
I don't know. Just give a squirt. Squirt.
Squirt. Wasn't there like a lemon drink called Squirt?
Yes.
Yeah, my dad's obsessed with it.
That's the most disgusting name
Squirt.
ever.
Yeah. Which one's mine doesn't
matter. I feel like it's a I said I feel like it's a Mexican thing because I feel like I only see
Squirt. A squirt.
Like,
want some squirt?
A squirt? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like a squirt. Like I think that's.
It has. It's
I don't know, my dad loves
It's either still around here. It's either still around, or it just recently stopped because I remember getting it from my kids.
Really?
Because it's like a citrus. It was a cloudy instead of it was like cloudy.
Yeah, my dad. I think.
Did you stir it?
No. Now it's stirred. Shaken, not stirred. Oh, it's actually good with the lemon.
Little squirt of lemon.
The little
Squirt.
Squirt.
It's like moist.
You want out? No, stop.
That's
word.
Oh. Why don't we like that?
Squirt is like that to me. To me, I don't like that word.
Do you say
panties
or underwear?
Well,
underwear. Chonies.
I say underwear. I don't
panties.
like the word panties.
I like when I say
it's weirder when men say
I'm wearing my sexy panties.
Well, okay, that's another story.
Yeah.
You're using it. It would
my
be
sexy
like
panties.
And if you use the other word in there too, then you're talking sexy talk.
Okay, but I can't say
I can't.
I'm wearing my sexy underwear. Like
no.
That doesn't sound sexy. It sounds like I'm wearing grandma panties.
You also won't tell someone I'm moist. No.
You say you're wet.
Yeah, you say you're wet. Like, and that's okay, but
the other word, no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, there's no way
I'm
going to be
tell
like.
people what underwear I'm wearing.
Alrighty. We're going to just jump into it. Okay. We're just going to do it, okay?
Except for the neighbors may not dig it.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Oh, are they outside?
Yeah.
Oh, the neighbors are not.
Oh, I know my neighbors hate me. They definitely hate me. Alrighty then.
Is that a car in a driveway?
Yeah.
I thought your cars were in the way.
No, that's the neighbors. Okay, that is, much better.
Yeah.
Much better. So now we're drinking.
Yeah.
We started out with Kahlua and coffee to wake our asses up. Mainly mine.
Hopefully she'll stay awake for my story.
Mainly mine. And now we're drinking 7-Up, vodka, and a little squirt of lemon.
To moisten it
I don't
up.
think squirt's that bad. It's not as bad as moist.
No.
I don't know what it is about the word squirt. I just don't like it. As I say it like 5 more times.
I don't mind squirt. Hey, squirt.
Yeah, see?
Say, I don't mind squirt.
Yeah, that one I don't. It doesn't bother me.
Not like moist.
Ugh.
Moist.
So gross. No. And it, like, when we're with friends and Garrett and his buddy, they both know I can't stand it, so they'll continue on. They start talking about their moist meat and putting it in the players' mouths. They're gross. They're so gross. Yeah.
Okay, that's disgusting.
And they go on, and I'm just like, okay, yeah, you guys stop now.
Are you guys trying to get rid of me or what?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So here's my story.
I wish I could just be like from here up.
Well, we could arrange that.
Oh wait, I can.
She's got the hydraulics. She's like, boom,
there.
boom.
Now I'm just all boobs and up.
Right, exactly. Do the bouncing.
Hello, my name is Carlene. I feel. Okay,
like a little girl now.
I gotta get used to this height now.
All right. I feel like we're warming up now. We are warming up. Too warm. All right. The Black Dahlia. The Black Dahlia. Now, this is one of those stories. It's one of those ones that I've been wanting to do for a long time, but it's like, do I have the time to devote to this story so that I can do it right? And so I didn't have the time to devote to this story, but I think I did a pretty good job as I pat myself on the shoulder before I've even read my story. So we'll take you to a cold morning in January 15th, 1947. A mother, Betty Bersinger, is taking her child a walk in Limert Park in a neighborhood in Los Angeles, California, and she spots what at first she thinks is a mannequin lying in the grass. However, much to her horror, it's not a mannequin, but the bisected, mutilated, and naked corpse of a woman. She, of course, freaks out, runs to the closest neighbor, and calls the police, and they're there in minutes. The body was just a few feet from the sidewalk and posed with the arms above the head, her elbows bent at right angles, kind of like...
I think straighter than that. Like,
she was totally posed.
Like right.
She was Vogue posed.
Vogue.
Vogue. Right. If my arm could be straighter.
Wait, it's going to get worse.
It's going to get worse. And her legs are spread apart, and she's cut in half. Like, completely cut in half. The lower half of her body was positioned a foot away from the upper, and her intestines had been tucked neatly beneath her buttocks. I forgot, I didn't write in here because the source that I took it off it didn't mention anything about feces, but there was feces on her.
Ew.
I think it was her. Oh, no, I think that was another case. Despite the extensive mutilation and cuts on the body, there wasn't a drop of blood at the scene, indicating that the young woman had been killed elsewhere. Her mouth was slashed from ear to ear in what people refer to as a Glasgow smile.
It's kind of like the Joker.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Ugh. That's gross.
I don't usually like to look at the crime scene photos.
Oh, they had crime scene photos?
Yeah. Ew. I looked at them.
No.
Bad.
I looked at them. It was gruesome. And she's like porcelain white because all the blood has been drained from her body.
Mm.
She had several cuts on her thighs and her breasts where entire portions of flesh had been sliced away. That is Shorty.
She's having a beautiful time with me petting her.
They're having a melding of the minds here. She purrs. You know she purrs.
Oh, she's bringing her hand into it now. She's
like, don't stop. Don't stop.
Yes.
Her body had also been washed clean before it was placed there to be found. I think I read that. Upon the discovery, a crowd of both passerby and reporters began to gather. Los Angeles Herald-Express reporter Aggie Underwood was among the first to arrive at the scene and took several photos of the corpse and the crime scene near the body. Detectives located a heel print in the ground amid the tire tracks, and a cement sack containing watery blood was also found nearby. Now, don't forget about that cement sack. It was determined that she had been dead for at least 10 hours before the discovery of the body, leaving her time of death sometime between the evening of January 14th or the early morning hours of January 15th. During the autopsy, it was also determined that the body had been cut completely in half by a technique taught in the 1930s called a Hemicorporectomy. The lower half of her body had been removed by transecting the lumbar spine between the second and third lumbar vertebrae, thus severing the intestine and the duodenum. And did I mention about her intestines being tucked?
Yeah.
Did I say that? Okay. Ugh.
I mean, it was just so thought out, meticulously done, so personal.
Yeah. It was also
and by a professional.
Yeah.
Too perfect of a crime. Not perfect, but
like a medical professional.
Well thought out.
Mm-hmm. Very well thought. It's not an angry crime of passion.
That's anger.
Yeah.
It's fetish or something.
It's weird.
I'll have to show you something in a little bit.
Because disfigurement of the face would mean like was it humiliation, or was it like, was she mean to somebody and they were like, I don't know.
The theory that's out there is that it was art.
Oh.
Like it was artistic, and I'll explain more. You just finished watching, well, I'll let you talk about that in a little bit.
Okay.
It was also determined that she was killed by a blow to the head, which caused cerebral hemorrhage, which is something they didn't put out there. That wasn't in the newspapers. And there was also something about something stuffed in her lower parts. I think it was hair.
Yeah.
Yeah. At first I remember hearing, not reading. At first, she was considered a Jane Doe until the FBI was able to identify her using her fingerprints. Her prints had just happened to be on file from a 1943 arrest. She is widely known to us now as the Black Dahlia, but her name was Elizabeth Short. So a little bit about Elizabeth.
That's Aiden's birthday.
Really? July? Oh, yeah. And Isaiah's is July 30th. I was thinking of Isaiah so she was a Leo. Elizabeth Short was born on July 29th, 1924 in the Hyde Park area of Boston, Massachusetts. Her family settled in Medford, Massachusetts, and this is where she would be raised for most of her life. Her father built miniature golf courses until 1929 when the stock market crashed. And he lost a ton of money. And after that, so he goes and he parks his car near this bridge and disappears. And they presume that he committed suicide by jumping into the Charles River. Aww. Due to issues with bronchitis, Elizabeth ends up living in Miami, Florida when she's 15 with family friends during the winter months. She does this for 3 years, going back and forth to Medford. She ends up dropping out of high school. Then in 1942, Short's mother receives a letter. 1942? Okay. All right. 1942, Short's mother receives a letter from the grave, actually from California. It's her presumably dead husband saying, "Psych, I apologize. I'm really alive and living well in California."
What?
Yeah.
What a bastard.
Right? Total bastard. And I didn't write it in here, but on something I was listening to, his reaction to her death when the cops came to ask him to identify the body was, "I don't give a shit about that horror," something to that effect.
Oh
like, no,
God.
I ain't going down there. Fuck her. It was basically like that.
Wow.
Yeah. So keep that in mind. In December, at age 18, Short relocated to Vallejo, California to live with her father, whom she had not seen since she was 6 years old. I guess this doesn't last long because her and her father are constantly fighting, and she decides to move out in January of 1943. Then there's some more moving back and forth where she gets a job at the base exchange at Camp Cook, now known as Vandenberg Air Force Base. And then in 1943, she moves to Santa Barbara, where she's arrested for underage drinking at a local bar. Isn't that where your dad lives, in Santa Barbara?
Yeah.
Where she's arrested for underage drinking at a local bar, and this is where her fingerprints and her there's actually a mugshot of her out there come into play. And that mugshot, like, I'll tell you about it. Anyways, she moves back to Florida, meets Major Matthew Michael Gordon Jr. just before he heads on his deployment to China, Burma, India Theater of Operations of World War II. That was long. China, Burma, India Theater of Operations. He writes to her proposing to her, but he ends up dying in a crash.
Oh, that's so sad.
A plane crash in August of 1945. I know.
Oh my gosh.
And she had said yes, apparently.
Oh, like, that was probably the light at the end of her tunnel, too.
Yeah. So she goes back to Los Angeles. She spends the last 6 months of her life mostly in LA. She's working as a waitress and rented a room behind the Florentine Gardens nightclub on Hollywood Boulevard. Elizabeth was known as Betty, or Beth. And also the whole Black Dahlia thing, I forgot to put it in here, but it came from the movie The Blue Dahlia. It was a 1946 film. And the guys at this malt shop or something like that, ice cream shop, they used to call her, they just started nicknaming her the Blue Dahlia. Oh. But then I was reading somewhere that the press dubbed her the Black Dahlia. Oh. So maybe they got it from these guys because they were like canvassing that whole area. So she was fixated on movies growing up, and of course in LA, like so many that go to that town in search of fame, she was considered by those that knew her to be an aspiring actress. She dated a lot. However, unlike how she's portrayed by many of the news outlets of the day, she did not drink and was known to not known to be easy. She was known more to be a tease. So she wasn't, she didn't,
because
she wasn't
said
promiscuous.
No.
Yeah.
It was probably because she said no.
Yeah.
She probably wasn't a tease.
Yeah. In fact, when she was working on that Vandenberg, like when I was reading this, that Vandenberg Air Force Base, she ends up leaving because she doesn't get a lot of dates there because she doesn't put out. She's not
easy.
But unlike how she's portrayed in the media, like she's put out there as being a whore. And, there was so much information on this, like so much. On January 9th, 1947, Short returns home to Los Angeles after a brief trip to San Diego with Robert Red Manley, a 25-year-old married salesman she had been dating. Manley stated he dropped Short off at the Biltmore Hotel located at 506 South Grand Avenue in downtown Los Angeles, and that Short was to meet her sister, who was visiting from Boston.
Oh, wow.
That afternoon. By some accounts, staff of the Biltmore recalled having seen Short using the lobby telephone shortly after she was, and this guy was one of the first people that they went after.
Looked into.
Yeah. Recalled having seen Short using the lobby telephone. Shortly after, she was allegedly seen by patrons of the Crown Grill Cocktail Lounge at 754 South Olive Street, approximately 0.4 miles away from the Biltmore Hotel. All right, so suspects in initial investigation. On January 21st, 1947, a person claiming to be the killer called the office of James Richardson, the editor of the Examiner, congratulating him on the coverage and stating that he was going to turn himself in soon. And oh, by the way, expect some souvenirs of Beth Short in the mail.
Oh my God, how sick.
I know. And not long after, a suspicious package arrives with individual words that had been cut and pasted from newspaper clippings. Additionally, a large mess... Were you about to say something?
No, but that sounds like the...
Zodiac?
Yeah.
Keep that in mind.
She's like, just wait.
Just wait. Newspaper clippings. Additionally, a large message on the face of the envelope read, "Here is Dahlia's belongings. Letter to follow." The envelope contained Short's birth certificate, business cards, photographs, names written on pieces of paper, and an address book with the name Mark Hansen embossed on the cover.
What?
The packet had been carefully cleaned with gasoline. So anyway, yeah, they had cleaned everything with gasoline to remove the fingerprints, and I guess they were able to glean some prints off of it, and they sent it off to the FBI, but somehow it got corrupted in transit.
Oh, of course.
Yeah. Similar to Short's body, which led police to suspect the packet had been sent directly by her killer. They did get some prints, though, and sent... Oh, this is what they got. Sorry. They did get some prints, though, and sent them to the FBI, but they were compromised in transit, and that was that. Also, the same day, a handbag and a black suede shoe were reported to have been seen in a garbage can. What? The police recovered those items from an alley not far from Norton Avenue, about 2 miles from where her body was discovered. Those items had been cleaned with gasoline as well, so no prints. So the Mark Hansen of the embossed address book became a suspect as well. Boy. He was a wealthy local nightclub owner and acquaintance of Elizabeth's. Elizabeth's roommate, Ann Toth, said that he had made sexual advances to her recently, and she had rebuffed him, so she basically said he had reason to kill her because of that. Which is weird. Any guy that you rebuff or say no to, has a reason to kill you.
Right.
What a dangerous world we live in.
Well, I mean, if they're off balance, and I mean, the way that she was murdered, kind of, just the way they cut her face is kind of like mocking, she made somebody upset because she wasn't nice enough to them or something.
I never thought of that. That's actually...
That seems like it might be out of anger.
Yeah.
That part. That might make sense, yeah.
Anyways, he ends up being cleared of suspicion eventually. Police also, and I'm not going to go through every single one because there was 25 at this time. Police also interviewed several persons found listed in Hans's address book, including Martin Lewis, who had been an acquaintance of Short's. However, he had a good alibi as well. Listen to this. Oh, wait, no. A total of 750 investigators from the LAPD and other departments worked on the case during its initial stages, including 400 sheriff's deputies and 250 California State Patrol officers.
I mean, that's pretty impressive that they had that many on one. Mm-hmm.
On January, that's a lot. Mm-hmm. Like, I was tripping out how many sailors came to that other case that we were talking about the other day that came and were, like, going through the swamps and the forests.
Oh, right. Mm-hmm.
On January 26th, another letter was received by the examiner, this time handwritten, which read, "Here it is. Turning in Wednesday, January 29th, 10 a.m. Had my fun at police, Black Dahlia Avenger." That's what he called himself, the Black Dahlia Avenger.
Whoa.
The letter also named a location at which the supposed killer would turn himself in. Police waited at the location on the morning of January 29th, but the alleged killer did not appear.
Just playing.
Yeah.
Which again is kind of reminiscent of the Zodiac.
Isn't it?
Yes. Dun dun dun.
Dun dun dun.
It gets more interesting, doesn't it?
Ew.
As she continues, it's just like, what the hell's next? Like,
right?
I am paying attention.
Instead, at 1 p.m., the examiner's office, that publication, received another cut and pasted letter which read, "Have changed my mind. You would not give me a square deal. Dahlia killing was justified."
What?
Crazy, right?
Yeah.
Of course, because of the nationwide media frenzy and sensationalism of the case, all the crazies came out of the woodwork and the police had to rule every single one of them out.
Right.
There were 60 confessions, most made by men.
Jeez.
Most. Over the years, there have been about 500 people who have confessed to this murder, and some hadn't even been born at the time of her death.
That's hilarious.
Well, we were talking about that before in a different episode, where like people confess to shit that they
don't do. Yeah. Well, it was the Zodiac that we were talking, because all these like, my stepdad fits the thing, and one of them was like saying that he did kill a bunch of people. Right. It's like, what?
What do you think makes people do that? Like, they want the attention? Like, there was no Facebook back then, so they couldn't take enough selfies of themselves to put out there? Like, it's just so weird. Like, look at me. And what a way to say, look at me. Like, arrest me and put me in jail with all the rapists and murderers. And
negative attention wants attention, too.
That's just so fucking weird to me. There were also many suspects and leads that were either ruled out or there was not enough evidence because what they had was circumstantial. One of those was this guy that was with her the night before her body was found, Robert Red Manley. And I think I already said he's a married man. I feel like I wrote this twice. They dated for a few weeks and he never... Okay, they dated for a few weeks. He says he never slept with her. He claimed he dropped her off at the Biltmore Hotel in Hollywood. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I did already. We talked about that. So he ends up being cleared as well. Okay, so after that day that he drops her off, supposedly 6 days go by between the last sighting of her. Like, so there's a 6-day period where there's just nothing.
Nobody sees or hears from her.
But this guy, Steve Hodel, who wrote a book about this, he investigated this whole thing, and he ends up saying that there was evidence in there that people had talked to her in that 6-day interim. So he's like, that I don't think that's true. So, and I'll tell you why he's relevant coming up here. There were and are many suspects Okay, I don't even know what the hell I wrote here.
She started drinking early.
Yeah. There were and are I really wrote hand.
Yeah.
There were and are many suspects, and the subject has been written about and theorized about extensively, and obviously we don't have time to go down every single one of these. The one thing that really comes across is that she was viciously maligned in the media, called everything from prostitute to a lesbian. And I wish I had time to go into that one, but the short of it is that there was a lesbian woman that claimed to have had a relationship with her and even confessed to the murder, but she wasn't credible. Anyway, she was basically blamed for her own murder, like so many women.
Right.
Like,
if they've been raped, they're blamed. Yeah.
Because of her...
Gaslighting.
Yeah.
I said victim blaming, gaslighting, all of it.
Yeah, totally. Supposedly because she was so loose. Which she wasn't. There is one standout subject, though. That was George Hill Hodel Jr. He was a suspect in 1947 and came further under the radar because his daughter, Tamar, ran away from home and accused him of incest. Ooh. So he's this wealthy doctor that lives in Los Angeles. Yeah. There was a trial on the incest accusation. However, he was acquitted and thought to be because he paid off the DA. Like there was payouts involved. And he left the country shortly after this. He just happened to be a physician who ran a VD clinic in LA and an illegal abortion clinic in which it is purported that he did abortions on the down low for many politicians and wealthy people and even the LAPD. So keep that in mind. And don't forget that this is the time of LA Confidential, like when there's so much corruption in the police department as well.
Wow.
So apparently she got, okay, this is like, so I didn't write all of this stuff down, but like I was listening to a bunch of different like things where Steve Hodel, which is his son, was discussing his book and like elements of his book. And he's just basically saying that Tamar, his daughter, which is Steve's half-sister, like this guy is like, Papa's a Rolling Stone. He has kids from a lot of different women. Wow. And he was just a very sexually perverse person. But I guess he had orgies there at the house. What? And somehow Tamar was also involved in these orgies where she was forced to do sex acts. No. Yeah. So anyway, she runs away from home and the police catch her and they're like, she's like, I don't want to go back home. And I think I read that she got pregnant from her dad and then he performed an abortion. Was that in there in that movie that you were?
Yeah.
Or that show?
Well, they didn't talk about it in the movie. In the show or whatever. They were trying to say that or suggest that he was the father to, I can't think of their name. Fauna.
So yeah, so there's a show on TNT called I Am the Night, and it's got Chris Pine and a few other different actors in it, but I started watching it. It seems really, really interesting, but I think it's loosely based on her life.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know how true it is, right? But they were trying to like insinuate that he was like the dad to Tamar's daughter,
right? And they link him to the Dahlia in that show as well, right? I didn't get that far. So anyways, yeah, this guy is just, and the house that they show in there, that was actually their house. It looks like a huge Mayan temple, and this is how the son describes it. It's called the Franklin House because it's on Franklin Avenue. It's also a historical house too. It was Frank Lloyd Wright's.
I was just gonna say it was Frank Lloyd Wright.
Really? Mm-hmm. His son, Lloyd Wright, is the architect of that house. So, and interestingly enough, during this time, there was some repairs that needed to be done, and he hired Lloyd. I think his name is Lloyd Wright. It's not Frank Lloyd Wright. It's Lloyd Wright. Hires him to come in and like oversee the repairs to the house. And part of that was like all this cement that was ordered because there's a lot of cement in the house and these giant bags of cement. And
that's why there was, and then cement at her.
There was a cement bag that she was carried in.
Wow.
I mean, there's so much circumstantial evidence. Let me read. Okay. In fact, it was discovered many years later by his son and former LAPD homicide detective Steve Hodel, who ends up writing several books about this, that their house, known as the Franklin House, was bugged by the LAPD. Yeah. It was wired completely. And these tapes suspiciously disappear. But the transcripts don't. Oh. They're like locked away somewhere and he ends up with them. So they surveilled him for several weeks. The actual tapes are gone, but there were transcripts of them, and one of them he even seems to confess to a murder. Wow. And this is word for word from the transcript. It says, "Supposing I did kill the Black Dahlia. They couldn't prove it now. They can't talk to my secretary because she's dead. They thought there was something fishy. Anyways, now they may have figured it out. Killed her. Maybe I did kill my secretary."
That's what I was just going to say. Oh my God.
So, did I tell you that they suspected him also of killing his secretary, Ruth Spalding, to cover up his financial fraud, and also like the other shit that he did on the down low at his clinic.
What a piece of shit.
So anyway, his medical degree and his sexual perversions make him a prime suspect because of the way her body was bisected, which suggested a skilled surgeon was the killer. In fact, it was this that may have ruled out other suspects. There was another quote from the transcripts with Hodel on the phone, and he says, "This is the best payoff I've seen between law enforcement agencies. You do not have the right connections made. I'd like to get a connection made in the district attorney's office."
What in the hell?
So, yeah.
Wow. This is so sad for her.
So, and then the daughter, she basically finds out from the cops when she goes in and she's giving her statement that he's a suspect. Wow. So this is how she knows, because they told her, hey, he also is a suspect. Like, I don't know how that even came up in their conversation, but yeah, this is how she found out. So then in October of 1949, Hodel's name was mentioned in a formal written report to the grand jury as one of 5 prime suspects in the Short murder. But none of the named suspects were submitted to the grand jury for consideration of indictment. So he was on the short list, like, of 5 people. As the investigation was still ongoing. By April 1950, Jemison had gathered enough evidence to charge Hodel and was about to arrest him for the Short murder when Hodel again left the United States.
Of course.
There were other circumstantial things that connected him as well, like a receipt for giant bags of concrete. There was a concrete bag found near the scene, like I mentioned earlier. And then there's also this obsession he has with this artist known as Man Ray, and they featured him in that. I did see that. That was also his friend and family photographer, and he was also known as he was kind of pervy. It was his unusual way of portraying bodies in his art, and the way she was posed, the Black Dahlia, strikes an eerie resemblance to one of his paintings.
Whoa.
Yeah. Steve Hodel makes a very compelling case in some of the YouTube videos and podcasts that I was listening to, so much so he presented it to the Los Angeles Deputy District Attorney, Stephen Kay, to look it over, just to...
Yeah, like, check this out.
Tell me if, this makes sense to you or if I'm on the right track. And he basically told him that if this was presented to him today and this was a modern day case, he'd take it and run with it.
Oh, my God. Okay, so it's the guy. I'm going to go with it.
Yeah, I think so, too.
I'm going to go with it.
There's a lot of people out there that are like, I don't know.
No, I'm going to go with it.
But how? Because, the way the body was cut, it's a professional, and this guy is a doctor, and he's doing these illegal backdoor abortions. The guy knows what the hell he's doing.
Right.
And so for them to just deny and be like, oh, no, I don't know if that's him or not.
Well, and he's molested his daughter. He's obviously has some sexual perversions, but not only that, but the orgies, the fact that he's he's paying off the...
Yeah, she insulted him in some way, so he definitely took it out on her.
Yeah. And, okay, he would never be charged officially, and much of the evidence would seemingly disappear in the intervening years until it was dug up by his son in his investigation for the book. It was also as if the case was made to go away.
I want to read the book.
I do too. There's actually 3 out there, because even after he wrote this book, that's when those transcripts showed up, because he was talking to some guy and he's like, hey, well, I'm going to go look at this, blah, blah, blah. And he ends up going to, I think he went to the LAPD or the district attorney's office, and there's these transcripts. And he's like, look what I dug up.
Wow.
Yeah. Because of the years after the Hodel left the country, the DA's office privately stated that the Black Dahlia case had been solved and Hodel was the killer. But they didn't have enough evidence to go to trial. Hodel died in 1999. And this is pretty much where his son and up until then, aside from what happened with his half-sister, Tamar, he had a relationship with his dad. He was he thought what? And not only that, this guy had I know I wrote it down. He had an IQ of 186.
Jeez.
He was a very, he was very intelligent, very skilled at what he did and anything that he did.
Wow.
Ooh.
Okay.
All right. Okay. I'm going to start marking when those come. Is there specific words?
Yeah, maybe.
All right. So when his dad dies, he goes to, like, his dad's married to this Japanese woman at the time. And, you know, he goes and she's like, you might want this. There's this, like, book there. And it's, like, pictures of them and their kids. Whatever. It's this tiny little book. Mm-hmm. And in there is a picture, or two pictures actually, black and white pictures of some woman posed. And for some reason, it comes into his head, Black Dahlia. Like this. And I don't think it's the Black Dahlia, to be honest with you. And a lot of people that have looked at the picture are kind of like, it's iffy. But I feel like there was a reason. Like, it's one of those weird things where things come back around. So he puts it out of his head because he's got a lot of other stuff going on. And okay, I just also want to mention his credentials. He had 24 years in the LAPD. In 18 of those years, he was in homicide, and he closed 300 murders.
He's no dummy.
Yeah, so, I mean, he has credentials behind him. So anyways, he puts this out of his head, and then a little while later, he's talking to his sister Tamar, and they start developing a relationship again. Because I guess, like, in the intervening years, like, after all that shit that happened to her, like, she kind of spiraled, and then they didn't really have a relationship because he lived on one part of the world and lived on one part of the U.S. and she lived on the other part. And then after the dad dies, they start talking. And she mentions to him, she's like, well, you know, he was a suspect in the Black Dahlia case. So I might mention, he was 5 years old when all of this went, when the Dahlia was murdered. Oh, okay. He was 5 years old when Tamara was already a little bit, she was a lot older. She was from a previous relationship. And then he's like, what? I never knew that. And she's like, oh yeah. She's like, when they brought me in for questioning, they told me. Then he starts looking into it. And at this time, it's mostly to be like,
not my dad.
To prove that it wasn't the case. And the more he dug, the more he found. And it was one of those things where you just pulled the thread and you have to keep on pulling. Right. You know what I mean? So
how sad for him.
I know, to find out that all this stuff about your dad. And even not even that, finding out your dad, like the length of everything that happened to your sister, him being suspected of murdering his secretary, and there was something else that they brought him in for that they suspected him of as well. Okay, so in his books, he also links his father to the lipstick killer of the late 1940s and a Manila jigsaw murder in 1967 in the Philippines, where his dad lived for a time because he left. He ends up marrying a Filipino woman, and the murder was pretty much a copycat of the Dahlia murder. Wow. There were several other murders he also linked him to within a radius of their house on Franklin, which I add, looks like a Mayan temple and is also supposedly haunted as well. Oh. In fact, at some point, they have cadaver dogs at that residence and find evidence that there had been bodies buried there. But I guess they didn't dig because it's private property and these people are like, no, you can't do it.
Wow. That's amazing.
And his book is called The Black Dahlia Avenger.
That was so good.
Isn't it?
Yes. I want to get that book.
So crazy.
My hips hurting. I mean, it's wild. It really is. It's crazy. There's just so, I don't know. And watching that whole show, of course, you know, like we said, it's like loosely based on it. Right. You know, but it makes you wonder how much truth is actually in it. Right. And then the whole like art thing, you know, like
he was obsessed with this guy, Man Ray.
Yeah, and I was looking at pictures, like his art, because I was like, oh yeah, that's Man Ray. So I was looking at stuff, and I'm like, oh, I get it. It's weird.
But, yeah, I'll probably put up some pictures.
But it was weird because in the show, like they show him as a kid, you know, and I don't want to like bring too much, you know, I don't want to like for you, right. But they show him as a kid, and he, I guess, wanted to be an artist. And they told him he was too smart, that he didn't have any emotion in his art. And so someone told him he needs to be like a doctor or something. Like he's too smart, and he's just not fit for art.
I wonder if that's true.
It's it's in the last episode, and you'll see it. But it's just interesting, you know, because you wonder how true that is. You know, if he really did want to be an artist, or if you know, if he wanted to be a doctor, right? Or if he got pushed towards the doctor thing because his IQ and all that, right? So I don't know.
I think it was the lipstick murders where the body was found. That's why it was called the lipstick murders. The body was found with the letters BD put in there. And this guy, Steve Hodel, the son, you know, basically says, that's my dad's handwriting. Like, he recognized it. And from one of the letters that were handwritten as well. So, but then they had, I guess it's one of those things that's unreliable, like taking a lie detector test. Like, you can have one handwriting handwriting expert come in and prove that it is, and then you have another one come in and prove that it isn't. So it's just like one of those things that's subjective. So it's just crazy.
It's interesting, and the whole case is just crazy, you know. But that was the thing, is that they were trying to say, well, because there was a whole book written. Let me see. There was a book written called, I have it right here, called Exquisite Court, Surrealism and the Black Dahlia Murder. Mm-hmm. So they're basically saying that the guy was just into surrealism, and they look at people like Salvador Dali, Man Ray, and like different surrealists, and saying that he was like inspired by them. So, yeah, it's interesting.
I think it was him 100%.
I think so, too.
Oh, 100%.
I'm totally, like, biased.
I so want to read that guy's book.
I was watching...
books.
There was, like, it was after his book barely came out, and so they had interviewed, like, people in the LAPD, and actually the detective, like, I didn't write down his name, but they interviewed the detective, and the detective was kind of salty about it, and he's like, oh, well, there was a bunch of other evidence in this case that he didn't have access to, and I don't think he's onto it, blah, blah, blah. We don't think it was him.
They don't like other people to solve their stuff.
Even though he had been in the LAPD for years and years.
Yeah, why wouldn't...
Well, isn't that one of that circular thing that I was talking about? Like, here his father was a murderer, and then he ends up in the LAPD.
Yeah, that's kind of
And
weird.
Then this falls in his lap, like, so many years later. After all these years.
Yeah, that's bizarre.
But he basically said, this case was solved back in 1940-something. It was solved a long time ago, but it was just brushed under the carpet. So... he was just basically piecing everything back together. And there was a bunch of quotes out there from people that were like in different, like the DA's office and LAPD, different like people, and they'd be like, you know, on the down low, we solved this case. He was a doctor that used to live on Franklin. There's quotes.
God.
Yeah, crazy, right?
Yeah.
So
that's really sad.
But this poor girl.
And then if he's doing these abortions for LAPD people, I mean, it kind of makes sense of why they're shooing it under the turn a blind eye to it, because he's doing them a favor that's illegal, you know, and he has them all in his pocket.
One more thing. When they were surveilling him, they actually...
Shorty, not me.
They actually heard in the surveillance tapes that a woman screaming and like a bunch of shuffling, and then it just went quiet. So they end up going in and searching the house at some point, and there's nothing there.
Whoa.
But there was also a regime change in the LAPD, where the chiefs. So they think that the guy that came in was
actually, I think we did a story during that time, because we talked about
Did you hear that?
I got chills.
Who keeps doing that?
Oh my god, I got chills with that one. Look.
Yeah.
So wait, that wasn't like, just me. I like witnessed that.
Static energy.
I thought my computer was freezing.
No, it's messing up our. Really? Did we freeze up? When that happened?
When she was telling her story, she was like going like this, and it kind of like froze for a second.
Oh my gosh! Then, so not only that, but that did it too.
Interesting. Oh.
Anyway, I can't remember what story we did, but they were revamping the whole department at that time.
Right, because they had such a bad reputation, and the guy that comes in is basically like, all right, we don't want to, because I think there was evidence that there was some corruption that took place or whatever, right?
Ooh, I got chills.
Yeah.
What is happening right now?
I don't know, but it's starting to freak me out.
Yeah.
The way it does that so much. I think you have an electric personality, and you're causing interference with her.
But I'm getting chills and stuff. That never happens.
I get chills every time I'm around you.
Like, you guys are freaking me out. Now I'm hearing noises.
I thought I saw something behind
my dog's
you.
over here scratching his head.
I almost rented the movie The Black Dahlia. Ooh. But I watched the preview and I was just like, it just looked like
stupid.
Like they really wanted to go into the whole lesbian thing. Like it was just like they were just playing up that part. Which is, so what if she was? But I don't think, I just don't think that was the case.
No.
I think they were, like, just think about the 1940s, how fucking judgmental. I mean, people are judgmental now.
Yeah.
About women.
Yeah. I think the connection between yours and mine is the abortion thing.
Is it?
I don't know. That's what I think, though.
All right. Now I can't wait to hear your story.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun. This was, like, there was so much stuff. Like, I feel like I could keep on talking about this. There was just so much stuff.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Like, I feel like I could do a whole episode on just George Hodel.
Ooh. I'm sure there's more bodies.
Oh, there is. Like, he linked it to, like, so many other murders. Like, yeah. and you know what? That's one of the things that I thought about when, like, I was actually looking at the whole Dahlia case a while back, was like, this sounds like a serial killer. Like, there has to be more bodies. Like, who does that?
He sounds like the Zodiac Killer.
Oh, wait.
Oh.
He does, in his book, I didn't put it in here, but in his book, and this is what has some people kind of like, okay, you had me up until you tried to link him to the Zodiac Killer, but he feels like his father might have been responsible for some of the murders. I
think it sounds possible.
So, anyways, yeah. I guess it's worth a read to read his book. All right. I can't wait to hear your story. What's going on at the Comedy Store?
Okay.
Okay.
Are we ready?
Let's talk about it.
Okay.
Oh my God, don't start. Oh my God, not the laugh.
Oh, shoot. I'm going to dislocate things.
No.
Okay.
She's getting ready to be a comedian. At the Comedy Store.
Okay.
And
go. It was originally built. God.
What is going on?
I don't know.
Like my whole head, like my hair just stood up on my. Okay. Can I stop getting goosebumps?
Maybe
stop.
We have some of the ghosts of the Comedy Store.
We might have to just start clearing things.
Okay, the Comedy Store. It was built. Ooh, burpee in the 1930s.
While you do your story, I'm sorry. I'm going to put on the thingy so I can...
The ghost box?
The ghost box. Well, not the ghost box. The word thingy. Because the ghost box is it's just too much.
Well, it's still a ghost box. It just gives us words.
I mean, I could turn it up and you could actually hear the words, but
it's
annoying. Yeah, it's annoying.
Okay. It was built in the 1930s. Before... I have to read ahead because I thought I made a mistake. All right. Before this building was the Comedy Store. In 1972, it was known as Ciro's.
Like S or C?
Ciros.
Okay.
Ciro's. In the 1940s and 50s, it was a fancy, like, super hip nightclub where, like, all the famous people would go. So, like, Lucille Ball, Cary Grant, Katharine Hepburn, Humphrey Bogart, all those people would hang out there. Yeah, it was like the Frank Sinatra, Betty Davis, all these fancy people. They have some really cool pictures online.
Really?
Of people whooping it up there. Huh. Like all their fancy furs and just like... Yeah, long cigarettes.
It was the place to be.
It really was. That's right up my alley. I love looking at that stuff. But anyway, okay. But says
buried.
Who's buried?
Is it backwards?
So if you think about places like that, those kinds of places that were really hip with all the famous people. You're still getting chills. The mafia like to be part of those things too. So it was home to many mafia kingpins back in the day. Mm-hmm. So they say, like some people think Bugsy, like he owned a lot of stuff.
Bugsy Siegel?
Mm-hmm. They say that he owned it, but I don't think he did. I think he just had his hands in it.
Okay.
But anyway, it was a big mobster named Mickey Cohen, who I think was under Bugsy. And then, anyway, he was one of the... No.
It said, Daddy, no.
Daddy, no.
Why?
All this has to do with my story.
Yep. Has to do with her story.
Yeah, I was going to say, that reminds me of your story.
Yep. Buried. Daddy,
That's
no.
all the goosebumps right now.
Yep.
Okay. All right.
Anyway, it's getting ready to say something else.
Just keep going. I'll tell you guys. Okay. I'm still getting goosebumps. It hasn't stopped. It's like nonstop.
They're around you. Okay. Anyway, it is said that many of those who did him wrong, Mickey Cohen, that is. So Mickey Cohen, he even had his own office in Ciro's.
I do remember seeing that on Ghost Adventures.
Yeah.
Because I did watch that episode.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Oh, I wish I could have watched it.
It was like one of those, it just looks spooky to go up. Like they pan up these stairs up to this office. And then they like did the whole recreation of, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, he had his own office up there. But it is said that many of those who did him wrong ended up as those who now haunt the property.
Right.
But what he did was, if somebody did him wrong, they were killed right there in the basement.
Right.
So I saw somebody say something about a hole in the wall, and they would have them come in and they'd shoot them through the hole in the wall. Mm-hmm. That was pretty crazy. So, yeah, there's a lot of dead gangsters somewhere in there.
I love those old gangster stories.
Yeah.
Like, especially, like, you think of them more on the East Coast, but, like,
no,
there's a lot of shit that went down, like, Nevada, even here.
Here.
Yeah.
It still goes, they're still here. There's still stuff here. When I was doing some research.
Insanity.
Oh, my goodness.
Okay.
This is making total sense.
Dude, I'm telling you, the last few times, besides last week, like, this thing is starting to,
And it answers us.
It's literally having stuff to do with, like, what we're talking about.
Yeah, it's not just random stuff.
Yeah, it's just, okay.
All right.
All right.
It makes sense that it's mafia-related ghosts because, wait, what? Oh.
I like when she's like,
yeah. What did I write? Well, it was like, while I'm watching stuff, I'm like, well, it makes sense that they're all mafia-related ghosts because nobody's saying, like, I just saw Richard Pryor walk by.
Music.
Well, this was, yeah. Yeah, nobody's saying that they see Richard Pryor or Sam Kinison walking by in ghost form. Anyway, during this time of the 20s, 40s, 50s, mobster Mickey Cohen ran a brothel right next to the Ciro's. Besides demanding a cut of the club's profits, which was cost a lot of businesses in the area paid for like security and stuff like that. It was just part of what you did for gangsters. Mickey set up his headquarters in an office located upstairs. We already said. Ooh, this thing. Plants. Official mob unpleasant business was taken care of downstairs in the basement, which I already told you. Whoa. Yeah.
Says
wait, disembodied blood?
Disembody. Okay, the last three words were plants, disembody, and blood.
And her blood was drained.
It's all to do with my story.
Yeah, it does. Okay, anyway, there was a killing and torture room to hurt, punish, and kill problem people. Did you know that?
Yeah.
Come on. Stop.
He doesn't know that.
Stop looking shit up. Stop watching shows before we were going to do...
We were going to do this, so that's why I even looked at it.
And I only pulled it up because I really couldn't think of anything else cool enough to do. Yeah. So I'm like, can I just do this? Anyway, customers who couldn't pay their gambling debts, romanced the wrong waitress or showgirl, or were guilty of some other offense, were the ones who suffered and died here. In the basement, there was also an abortion clinic.
Interesting.
It was set up for showgirls, prostitutes, and girlfriends of mobsters to get rid of their tummy bumps.
I do remember that.
These women probably didn't have a choice in this matter. A nurse of questionable skill who was on Mickey's payroll performed illegal abortions. But now that you did your story, I wonder if that doctor was ever a part of this. Because he wasn't far from this place. Just saying. And he did know a lot of the wrong people.
Right.
And the right people.
Right.
So I just wonder how many times was he called over to help out over here. Just saying. I don't know why. I just got the feeling, even though they had this nurse that didn't know shit, one woman died from her abortion, and the nurse was publicly humiliated and probably killed by the dead woman's boyfriend.
Oh, wow. Like, oops.
Yeah. You like fucked up. Guess you're going to die now.
Illegal thing.
Yeah. Ugh, my
brother.
That's crazy. In the 60s, it was a rock club. They don't really say too much about it, except for that's where the Birds, the group, the Birds, were discovered. Oh my God. I'm really sorry. Now, if it just says you.
It says screw. Screw.
Were they screwing people in the head?
You never know.
All right. Then, okay, so it was the rock club, but just for a short time. And then in 1972 is when it became the Comedy Store. And it was Sammy and Mitzi Shore, I believe, were the original owners. But Mitzi, bottom line is, Mitzi Shore, who is Pauly Shore's mom.
Yeah.
She ended up getting it in the divorce, basically, and then like purchasing more of the land around and making it bigger, or more of the buildings and making it bigger. Late one night, Blake Carla.
It says Mira, Mira. But whenever I get a word like that, I always wonder if it's in Spanish. Like mira. Mira.
Could be. What does that mean?
Look.
Oh. Anyway, late one night, Blake Clark and a coworker explained how they witnessed
ghostly effervescence.
Yeah. They're trying to channel. Anyway, so I watched the Unsolved Mysteries. Did you see that one?
I did not.
You didn't?
I did not.
What? So, it's an old Unsolved Mysteries, obviously. Oh. But the Comedy Store was the beginning for some, like Richard Pryor, Roseanne Barr, Jim Carrey, Robin Williams. I mean, every single comic. They have all gone through there. On Unsolved Mysteries, one of the waitresses speaks. She talks at this time. She speaks at this time when. Okay, so at the beginning of the night, the waitresses would make up all the tables. They'd put on, the, what do you call it? Tablecloth. Mm-hmm. They'd put on an ashtray and a candle.
Right.
So she did that to all the tables. And then she walked around the corner to get her drink. When she came back, the linens were all folded up. The ashtrays were all stacked up. The candles were all put back. Everything was put back in place. In just the amount of time it took her to walk around the corner, get her drink, and come. She was only gone a minute.
That's crazy.
Yeah. She said the waitresses said stuff like that would happen all the time. They would like get the place ready, come back, and it would all be. But at least it was neatly put away.
Right.
It wasn't thrown on the ground.
Huh?
Sidebar. Your guys' camera keeps going dark, and then
so does yours right now.
And then those lines that me and Carlene were talking about, those lines.
That's weird.
Keep showing up.
Really?
So yeah. Okay.
I'm ready. I'm so excited. I'm kind of excited that you didn't see this because you know what I like? You saw Ghost Adventures. This is accounts by the people who were there.
Right.
This is people who really, again?
Yeah. Insanity.
People who really experienced stuff. Like almost everybody has a story.
Right.
To this place. It's crazy. Anyway. Okay. The waitresses, I said. Okay, so one of the comedians, Joey Gaynor, who was working as a doorman at the time, because she really made people pay their dues.
Right.
Like, they all had to start the piano guy, doorman, whatever.
Right.
And
you had to do the grunt work.
Yeah, and at the time, a lot of the comedians weren't being paid. It was like, it's just a privilege for you to work here. Mm-hmm. But then they all went on strike, like all over the place for those comedy places, and ended up they had to be paid.
Oh,
workers.
So they were kind of being taken advantage of by a lot of different comedy places.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
I could see that.
I mean, they do, and they look at her, Mitzi, as like a mom. She started their careers, and they're really thankful to that. But she was getting away with not paying them.
Have you ever watched, is it The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel?
Yes, I love that.
I love that show. Mm-hmm. I'm waiting for it to come back.
I've taken a little break from it, but I do like it. Okay, so he was working as a doorman, but he's also a comedian. And he tells a story of locking up. Oh, he was locking up, and he shuts off the lights, and he starts to go outside or out the door, and 2 candles that were sitting on a table, they just ignite by themselves. So okay, he's like, weird. Okay, like, did I not see that those were lit? Or, he's like, what? So he walks over, he blows them out, starts to go out the door. They ignite again. Just those 2 candles. They're sitting on the table. And then he's like, well, maybe I didn't blow them out all the way. So he walks back over. He blows them out. Starts to walk out. They ignite again. And he's like, fuck that.
I'm out. See ya.
Yeah. Leave them lit. I'm out. So, anyway, on another night, he went to shut the lights off. Oh, so he went to shut the lights off. He's like, when he tells the story, he says, I went to shut the lights off. It takes all about 4 seconds for me to walk over here, shut these lights off.
Right.
By the time I turn around and I walk over to the front of the stage, there's all these chairs from the audience area stacked up on each other.
Right.
Like stacked up high. And he's like, there's no human way. Like somebody could do it in 4 seconds. Somebody could stack that many chairs up and without making a sound. Like he would have heard somebody doing that. The way they're all stacked, and how can they do that without them falling down?
Right.
What's that say?
It said grew, and then it said white.
White? Anyway, so that was a weird thing.
Right.
And then another comedian, Blake Clark, also served as a doorman at one time, but he's also a comedian. He's actually pretty famous. He was on like Johnny Carson a lot and stuff anyway. And he also explains his experience of walking into the main room and the stage. He's walking like through the tables and stuff, and the bar stool that's on the stage just starts sliding across the stage all by itself. Mm-mm. And he's very quick to say, like, it wasn't an earthquake, there wasn't a breeze, like the thing just moved by itself.
John Travolta sliding across.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's just like zzz. So that freaked him out. So the 2 of them, Blake Clark and, oh crap, what was the guy's name? Joey Gaynor, were both closing up at one time. And they're kind of talking about their ghostly experiences. Like, have anything ever happened to you? Blah, blah, blah. Joey starts taunting the ghost. He's like, well, come on. What are you going to do now? And all of a sudden, this ashtray like levitates in the air and then gets thrown across the room against a wall.
Well, there you go.
Yeah. That freaked them out.
That's what I'm going to do.
Yeah, don't fuck with me. Michael.
And those things are heavy.
Right? Those old school ashtrays. I'm thinking of those like big green.
No, I think it was just like the plastic ones that they set at the table. But still, it was a big one. It was like, like a duel, so that person over here and the person over here. It wasn't like a little one like this. Isn't it crazy
to think that like you would go somewhere and people actually smoked indoors?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like back in the day, like you couldn't even go to have a pancake at the Waffle House.
You could smoke in a grocery store.
Right.
You could smoke on an airplane.
Right.
Yeah, that was weird.
You could drink whiskey.
I remember living in California.
If you worked in an advertising agency or something.
That's so crazy. Anyway.
Okay, I wish you could still drink whiskey at work.
We can.
They need to bring it. Oh, we're working. This is technically us working here.
Oh.
That's our whiskey. Oh, wait. Vodka.
Anyway, Michael Becker was the manager at the time. Oh, okay. He was the man. They probably talked about him on Ghost Adventures or whatever. Anyway, Michael Becker was manager at the time, and he was total skeptical of the stories being told. And then he had his own experience. So he's working in his office. There were 3 of them. He was on a phone like outside his office, and then there was like where a secretary or somebody, I don't know who the guy was sitting at a desk, and somebody was in his office using his desk. And so he's on the phone. He's like, yeah, blah, 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 blah. And then he sees this man in like 40s garb, with like the suit, the pinstripe suit, and the hat, fedora.
The mobster.
Yeah.
The whole mobster look.
Walk into his office. And so he's watching it. Well, it looks like this other guy at the desk is watching it too. And so they both run into the office, and there's the guy at the desk. They're like, where'd the guy go? And he's like, what guy? You didn't see some guy walk in here? And then he's like, no, I didn't see anybody come in here.
Interesting.
Yeah, so he had his ghost experience by actually seeing an apparition of one walk into his office. And then, now let me go back to that one where late one night where Blake Clark and a coworker explained how they witnessed a metal gate. So I guess in the hallway, in certain parts of the hallway, there was this gate. It's a metal, crisscross kind of gate. Mm-hmm. And they are watching it breathe. Like it was bending.
Like contracting.
Yeah, it was just bend. Yeah, it was kind of slowly doing that. And then it just bent all the way out. And you could hear it like squeaking. Because it's bending like it shouldn't. So it's like...
I like how Shorty snored right when you were doing that.
I know.
She's like...
Anyway, it had this spooky squealing noise. Okay, so although everyone says the ghosts that reside there are not very threatening, like, they only throw ashtrays at you and stack up chairs, but they're not threatening. Everybody is afraid to go in the basement, which I'm sure Zach probably found a demon or something down there.
I don't remember.
Well, honestly, the basement is where...
There was some activity in the basement.
Yeah. Everybody says...
There was negative activity in the basement.
Everybody says they feel that nobody will even go in the basement, basically, is what they say. So, one night, they're kind of like challenged. Blake and Joey are challenged to go down into the basement. This dog is snoring over my whole story. Am I boring you? Anyway, it's loud. They were challenged to go into the basement, and while exploring around, so I don't even know how to describe this thing that they saw, but it was like this shadowy, squiggly-like apparition that was like moving like... like one of those things that are in front of car places that do this, but it was in slow. And it had no face or any kind of anything.
Right.
It was just this shadowy, blobby thing, that apparition manifestation thing that was, and it was huge. And so Joey is like going, get back, stay away. Trying to make it stay away.
The sign of the cross.
And then it just kind of...
I compel you.
He's like, get away. And then it just kind of hovered there for a while. And then it like, like this breeze, cold breeze went just like by them. Yeah. And it was like, it was like a cold creepy breeze in its mist. Yeah, it was crazy.
If I saw something going...
That would scare the shit out of me.
Yeah. I wouldn't stand there to be like... I'd just be like, gone.
Oh, yeah. Well, then they both like took off, but I think they were just kind of frozen in fear.
Catherine.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so in 1982, Dr. Taft and his UCLA parapsychology team came to investigate the Comedy Store. Did you hear about that? Mm-mm. Because of all the activity and of the spirits, which this thing is acting weird right now.
Right.
When they got to the backstage area of the dressing rooms, 2 coins fell from the ceiling. When they got to the basement, the psychic Dr. Taft suddenly was overcome by agonizing pain in his legs, which they're assuming that's because mobsters, like to break legs.
Oh, yeah.
And he had picked up the horrible pain some unfortunate soul had suffered, inflicted by someone else.
Interesting.
One tortured tactic of the mob was to break legs and knees. In 1994, a segment for the TV series Haunted Hollywood, which I couldn't find it anywhere, was filmed in the original main room. Dr. Taft came along to watch the taping. He saw in the back of the room 3 men all dressed in 1940s style suits, including the fashionable wide lapels. Coldness. Oh, I just said that. With the shadowy thing.
Right.
Ooh.
Creepy.
After the filming, everyone packed up and left, leaving Taft the last one to leave. Taft came up to acknowledge them as they were still standing there. So he's acknowledging these 1940s
anemia
guys. Maybe we are anemic.
Maybe that's why
I'm anemic.
Maybe you are.
Oh, are you?
Oh, well, there you go.
Slowly.
Okay, so now Taft, because he's a psychic, so he sees these guys and now he walks up to them. Taft came up to them to acknowledge them as they were still standing there. However, these solid-looking apparitions disappeared before his eyes.
Crazy. Dry.
Paranormal EXP. I watched their stuff on YouTube. Conducted 4 overnight investigations at the world-famous Comedy Store in West Hollywood. In September 2011, their results were compelling in what they captured in hard evidence, which is why I documented it.
Right.
Documented it. Oh, and what I just read about Taft, that came from a website called hauntedhouses.com.
Interesting.
Okay. So, paranormal group. Oh, wait. I don't know if I want to read this yet because I want to read this part. In 1997, parapsychologist Dr. Larry Montz, I don't know, was asked by Mitzi Shore, the owner of the Comedy Store, to investigate the reports of paranormal activity. Dr. Montz conducted the first informal investigation of the Comedy Store back in 1981, along with the other famous Hollywood properties. This time, now 1997, at the invitation of Mitzi, he has returned with a team of various psychic... Oh my God, okay, so wait. So he shows up with like 4 or 5 other people, psychics, and they discover 5 resident entities. Okay, I'm going to go over these, but I can't wait to tell you who one of the psychics is.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. One is Francis, nicknamed Gus, which is identified as a mafia hitman related to William Wilkerson. He was the owner of the nightclub of Ciro's.
Okay. I do remember that name. Okay.
And then Anthony, identified as a mafia hitman, also a part of Ciro's time. Ellen, an older woman employed to conduct backstreet abortions during the Ciro's days. Sharon, a young woman who dies during an abortion performed by Ellen, which they said.
Right.
Steve Lubitkin, a New York comedian who committed suicide in West Hollywood, June 1979.
Oh, wow.
He was told he wasn't very funny, I guess. And then he went he went across the street and jumped from that building, and they think his intention, because of his note, was to actually land on the Comedy Store building.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, like, in your face, clean this up. Anyway, according to this channel, they said that it's believed that by the end of 1997, the ISPR cleared or crossed over the resident entities of Ellen and Sharon. I don't know. Anyway, Gus and Anthony remain full-time residents.
Anthony didn't want to go?
No. And what they said about I may have put it on here. I'm just going to keep reading. In 1999, Dr. Montz returned to the Comedy Store to field test a new ISPR trio of psychics. Oh, okay, here we go. The late Peter James, Linda McKenzie, and his first U.S. paranormal field investigation, Derek Acora. Okay, Derek is the guy from my last story. Do you remember me talking about him? He was the psychic that was in the tunnels. Oh. And then he was like, I think I got hit by a stick. You know, right. He's like, okay, he is very dramatic.
Right.
Everything is extremely dramatic. And even when he's having a conversation, like somebody's like, I feel them touching. Yes, yes, yes. He gets like, he interrupts people and it's just like very animated, very dramatic, very over the top. Anyway, he's from Scariest Places. Is there a dog that she's playing with?
I don't know. Is there a tail wagging?
Oh. Okay.
You're on mute.
Yeah, he came up and he wanted to play.
When they begin, they head down to a room where Peter James immediately picks up. I said Peter James, the late Peter James, yeah, picks up on a smell of medicine, and then hears the cries of babies, and they don't know the history, so they're all like
the whole abortion.
Yeah.
Okay. That's crazy that it doesn't seem very big. Mm-mm. And then in that space, they have
all that stuff going.
That's a lot of things to happen in one place.
Yeah, yeah.
Like that doesn't seem very sanitary.
Killing people and having abortions and breaking people's knees.
Yeah.
I don't know. They then show Linda McKenzie in another area holding her head. So it almost looked like she was channeling something because she kind of looked like she was in a trance. As she's talking, she starts holding her head and it starts hurting more and more and more. And she's like, it was like she started to feel someone who had been shot in the head.
Oh.
When he was supposed to shoot someone else. So they said, we need you to go down there and shoot this person. But then actually, he's the one that got shot from the hole. That secret hole. They tricked him. She says she sees Anthony standing behind one of the men in the group named Steve. So Steve's a real life person. She sees Anthony standing behind him. The entity, Gus, has said that he has remained at the Comedy Store because he thought he was going to hell, so he stays there. He'd rather be at the Comedy Store than hell.
Right.
Linda channels Gus and then has a choking feeling and begins to cry and panic. So they're like, let go, Linda. Like they're trying to tell her, like, separate yourself from him.
Linda.
And she's panicking because she can't get that spirit off of her, I'm assuming.
Interesting.
Yeah, that would freak me out.
Yeah.
John Rasmus.
Have you ever had any experience like that where
they won't let go?
Yeah.
No.
Have you ever had a choking experience?
I've had experiences where they've made me feel they're stabbing. I've had them where they've kind of, remember? And Jerome.
Oh, yeah. I do remember that. That was from somebody being hanged, right?
Yeah.
That's creepy.
I think I'm going to go back up here so I don't forget to say this. So, Paranormal Group, that EXP on YouTube, recorded, you can hear this on their YouTube channel. They did get some good evidence. You could hear footsteps and disembodied sounds of a woman and a bright light orb when... So there's a photo. They're in this room that has a lot of stuff in it. And they have a photo and they're asking it to touch the photo. And you see this bright energy that kind of comes and then like goes to the photo. It's very interesting. And somebody even from their end is like, does anybody have a flashlight down there? Because it was so bright. It was crazy. And then they also receive emotional feelings. Ow. And even to the point of eyes watering, they also caught the mist. You can see it. That has been reported by many. So I guess in one room, there's like a big window and people report seeing a mist in there. Right. They actually got video coverage of that.
Interesting.
Yeah, and they tried to debunk it, and they couldn't. So
that's a lot of phenomenon in one place.
Oh, yeah. And the fact that they actually got proof of the stuff that people are saying is kind of cool. So they had mentioned, okay, so they had walkie-talkies, and they had gotten off the walkie-talkies. And 10 seconds later, they were like, have you noticed our walkie-talkies haven't gone off at all? You know, they're not making not beepings. And then 10 seconds later, they started going, like somebody was trying to mess with them. And they even showed, like, in order to make these go off, you have to push these buttons. And they showed, like, to show people, like, you have to do this.
Right.
Well, filming, one of the guys walks up to an open door that closes as he gets up to it without any human assistance. It just closes.
Right.
They account for everyone's whereabouts as to show that it happened on its own. They try to recreate the door closing to debunk it. As Jason, one of the guys on the crew, approaches, he says, I'm going to walk in here and I want you to do that again. And they receive an EVP that says, I'll do it again.
What the fuck?
On their digital recorder,
that's
says
on
that.
The nose.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really interesting. I mean, this is probably some of the best evidence I've seen.
Speed.
To add to this, they then show a clip of a comedian, Jeff Scott, had a similar experience with the same door. At one point, they say something to the ghost about being quiet when they then drop a paper photo on the head of another one of the crew members. Oh, so sorry. I love how people are texting me this late. I mean, it's only 10 o'clock. It's Friday night.
Right.
I'm so old.
This late
at night. Damn, people.
And I'm over here thinking 9 o'clock's late. I'm like, why the hell do people text me 9 o'clock at night?
Chill.
Okay, so anyway.
As I get the chills.
What was I saying?
I think I'm very suggestible tonight.
Well, telling the crew it is time to wrap it up, they get a response, no, on their walkie-talkies.
They're like, don't leave.
You can hear
We're not done.
It says no. Then it sounds as if someone's trying to talk on the walkie-talkies. That leaves them all a bit spooked out.
Huh.
I should mention that they even, I already did mention that they demonstrate their walkie-talkie button.
Right.
Another group called Mr. Moes, MOES, on YouTube shows pictures and some silent video clips of themselves while allowing us, the listeners, to hear the EVPs they received in response to their questions. One of the guys asks, okay, so the guy's a bit hefty, and you hear an EVP that says, the fat one.
That's rude.
They really breezed over that one. They ask if there is spirit in here with us. Can you please say the word spirit? And they get a response, spirit.
Okay.
They ask.
So they're getting intelligent responses.
Yes. They ask how many were here with them at the response. They said, okay, so how many spirit are in here with us? And they hear many. They ask if the bishop was here, which I guess is the nickname of Sam Kinison. Mm-hmm. And Spirit responds by saying bishop, but that's him, Sam, while showing pictures of themselves there while doing EVPs. The photo shows spirit energy orbs actually on them. Like you can see the energy is actually on them. Yeah. This has a lot.
Right.
Like,
There's a lot.
I'm kind of okay that I didn't see the Ghost Adventures.
Definitely more stuff.
Okay, so then there's this comedian, Bobby. I think it's Bobby Lee, but he does a lot of podcasts and stuff and shows them on YouTube. And also with, what's his name, Joe Rogan. Mm-hmm. And Bobby, who was a comedian, he has like story after story after story because he was spending every night there. So right. He has a lot of stories. But anyway, he witnessed things. He said it said that Mitzi would have an exorcism done there every year in her office. to clear her office. He says that one night at 2:30 in the morning, he was wondering why they weren't closing up. And when the manager told him they couldn't close up yet because they were getting ready to do something, he told them not to go up there. So up in this, I'm assuming it's called the belly room.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they were going up into the belly room, and it's called the belly room because they used to do belly dances in there, but it's a comedy place. So Then they started that's where the women comics were doing the comedy shows. And then they were like, well, that's kind of bogus. Why are you putting us separate? But anyway, okay, so they're like, don't go up there, we're doing something. And of course he says he snuck up there to see what they were doing, and he sees like 12 people dressed in these cloaks. Yeah,
okay, that's creepy.
And with candles and chanting. It was people like trying to conjure up Andy Kaufman.
What the hell?
Yeah. One of the people was Lily Tomlin, he said. He tried to get a look at the people, and he only got a good look at Lily Tomlin and Bob Zamuda.
Wait,
Andy's
these were
good
actual
friend.
people up there in cloaks, like trying to channel.
Yeah. Lily Tomlin was one of them.
That's creepy.
Yeah.
But that's some crazy Lily Tomlin shit, though.
Yeah.
Like, she's fantastic, and she's so, like...
It made me want to meet
wild.
her.
Okay, right when it just did that static thing, my phone went.
Oh, that's crazy. Okay, so then, hold on, let me finish wiping my nose. He says, Carla LeBeau said that so Sam Kinison used to actually stay there. He stayed the night there. He had like a little area that he would sleep. Him and this other comic.
Right.
And Carla? I don't know who. Anyway, this other comic. Anyway, the comic woke up seeing Sam Kinison elevated, levitating off the ground, like high up off the ground. He said by his ankles, but we'll just go with levitating off the ground. Okay. Sam Kinison, he's not a small man. I mean, he is small, but he's chunky man. And
but wait, this is while Sam Kinison was still alive?
Still alive. Living at the comedy store. They were sleeping. But then there's also a story about let me think here.
That's a lot of shit in one place.
Yeah. Oh, so then there's another comedian, and the comedian even jokes about it now, I guess, about his spine being all fucked up. But he was actually levitated by spirit, supposedly, and then dropped down. And his spine was broken because of it.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I think
anyway,
it just leaked.
I kind of think I'm glad that I didn't see the Ghost Adventures, because I got some good stuff without it. And, Zach just kind of, he might have tainted.
He's a lot. But they did get some cool stuff. They had a comedian. I can't remember who it was now.
Was he Asian?
No, Jeff. I think his name is Jeff something.
Oh.
He went up and was doing a set really quick. Mm-hmm. And
so there was this Jeff guy. I think I know who you're talking about, because he used to play the piano and do the lighting and stuff. And he's also a comedian. He owns a ton of artifacts from like when it was CeeLo's, and when it's the comedy store too. He owns a ton of stuff.
Right.
He's got tons of stories about, spooky ones, and he actually will say he's not sure if it's haunted, but he's got a lot of history about the place.
Yeah, this guy was a skeptic, but they had turned off the lights on the stage, and when he said this guy's name, the stage just lit up.
Oh,
and the lights they were off. There was no way so it was kind of cool.
Yeah, so it's got to be that Jeff guy that you can actually get on YouTube and see, if you just put up comedy store. Are
you talking about Jeff Scott?
I think so, because it's interesting just to hear the stories. Oh, yeah, it's this guy.
Okay, no, that wasn't the comedian though. No, this one.
Oh, here's his name with Jeff Scott. Yeah, that's him.
Yeah, but that's not the guy I'm thinking of. That was on Ghost Adventures. No, I believe you that he has to do with your... But the guy that was actually on the stage.
Oh, you asked me if it was Jeff Scott, and I'm saying yes, it was.
This guy was... I think his name was Jeff.
Carlene, when you were talking about that person levitating...
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. The camera... the voice and camera like glitched out for a second.
Did it?
It glitched again.
Weird. You know what's crazy? So many of my friends loved Sam Kinison.
Really? I couldn't. I didn't understand his comedy.
The screaming. Yeah. I just couldn't listen to it. His whole show was him screaming, and I just couldn't listen to it. Yeah, I didn't get into him at all. I didn't think he was funny. Yeah, sorry, Sam my favorite. Kinison. You're probably a great dude, but not my kind of comedy.
Was that the end of your story?
Oh, I'm done.
Oh, you're done? I was just...
Psychopath.
Didn't we get that one before?
No.
Interesting.
That's it.
That was good. That's a lot of activity.
Yeah, I mean, there's more. I mean, look, you watched Ghost Adventures, and they got stuff.
Yeah, they got a bunch of stuff, but not like that. That seems like it was more stuff.
It was good stuff.
Yeah,
I liked it. I liked it because I got to actually witness, and it's people who actually work there who are telling the stories.
Right.
It's not like hearsay or, I mean, it is hearsay, but it's actually from, I don't know. Anyway, I thought it was good.
I thought it was too. Why is this driving me crazy?
Probably could have dug into murders, into more of the grungy stuff, but I wanted
Jeff
to get
Ross. Jeff Ross?
I wanted to get more into the hauntings, so I skimmed over all that stuff real quick.
You skipped over the history stuff?
Yeah, it seems to be not as interesting. People want to hear the ghost stuff,
right?
You know?
Blow.
Blow me.
Blow.
Oh, that's Sam Kinison telling me.
Blow me. Black Dahlia and the Comedy Store.
Oh, so yeah. That's what I wonder if that connection to the Comedy Store was like that doctor.
I wonder.
Well, think if the nurse was
killed.
And
he had to...
Maybe they needed the doctor.
Could be. Was it around the same time, like in the 40s? Mm-hmm. Oh.
40s and then 50s.
That's crazy.
And that show kind of made it seem like the doctor had, like, mafia people in his pocket, too.
Really?
Then it makes sense.
Interesting.
Yeah. And so when you guys were talking about it, I was like,
Possible.
Interesting connections, possibilities.
Ritual and remember.
And it was all in that same area.
There's a lot of stuff that would, like, there's the
was
whole
in L.A.
Cecil.
L.A. was just...
Like, I wonder, like, if we mapped it all out.
I'm still watching the Cecil, too.
Yeah.
Did you finish watching that one, Alma?
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
But I still didn't get to see the Ghost Adventures one, because I'm not going to pay for an extra channel.
I didn't see that either. People are pissed about having to pay for another channel.
Like, I get it. Like, I get this whole a la carte thing. Like, if you're, I mean...
They got to figure out a way to make money.
Yeah.
Because people are doing the whole cut the cord.
Yeah.
I know my mom just did it. And she's like, what if I want to watch my Jersey Shore? I'm like, well, if you want to watch your Jersey Shore, mother, in your 70s, you need to subscribe to see.
If one of my shows comes on, I'll try to calculate, like, if it's a channel that we don't have, I'll try to calculate when it's going to finish. And that's when we
do the free trial,
and then we binge, and then get rid of it.
That's smart.
Which I think a lot of people do that.
Probably. I haven't done it because I'm too lazy to cancel. Like, oh shit, I got to cancel that.
That's the thing, is to cancel it. But I mean, even if you cancel it after that, you've only paid like $7.99.
Even if you get Hulu, Aiden gets the whole Hulu package, and you get all those channels.
Hey, I just paid $3.99 just to watch that Ghost Adventures episode with the Franklin house for the Dahlia.
I wasn't even gonna fork it out. Yeah. It was like $2.99. I'm like, nope, $2.99. Not doing it.
It was probably $2.99.
I got enough good shit. I'm not paying it.
Yeah. They got some weird stuff in that house, though. They did get some stuff. And there was one moment where there's a basement area where, like, there's a dirt floor in the basement area, and they think that people were actually buried in there. So they kept on, like, kind of focusing on that area. So, what's his name?
Zach.
Zach is standing outside the basement area, and his good buddy's inside in the basement.
Because he always sends somebody else in there.
And Aaron's in there.
Yeah.
And so he's...
That's the guy with the beard or whatever. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So Zach's out there, like, he's getting ready to set up the camera. Mm-hmm. And there's another camera in the basement area that catches him. And as it's doing that, you hear a... like, kind of... And you see...
scary.
Literally, you see Zach just, like, fly over. And then they show, like, bits and pieces of the other... It didn't look
awesome.
It didn't look as dramatic. Like the freaking NBA flops that he does sometimes. Yeah. This one was like, he didn't mean to fall over.
That's funny.
Like, because what happened is the spirit went right in, like they did to you.
Yeah. Yes.
When we were at
that hotel.
Yeah. Jesus Christ.
I can never remember the name of that hotel.
The San Carlos. We're at the San Carlos, and you got that little goose in your ear.
Yeah. That is not okay to do.
Yeah. So that's what they did to him. Mm-hmm. And he wasn't expecting it. Mm-hmm. So he like completely flew over and he's like, I think I just broke the camera. Yeah. Like, and they just sat on the floor, both of them, because they were both, he heard Aaron, because Aaron was like trying to help him. And they just sat up against the wall for it. They're like, okay, we're just going to do an EVP right here. But but they caught it. They caught the, like,
ooh.
It was right.
Got it, huh?
Yeah, they did. So that was interesting. I wish we
got ours, because I'm telling you that it was in my...
Have you listened to the San Carlos episode? The sound was so terrible.
And I think I remember like watching when you guys would go like live on Facebook or Instagram or one of those, and I was kind of like watching you guys' little things. But yeah, I do remember where she was like, what was that? And she said something about, it was like a wet willy, right? Like,
yeah.
She felt like she got wet willied in the ear.
Yeah.
She was like, no.
I was trying
it's not okay.
I'm like, how else can I tell people?
Okay.
I never do that. And yeah.
That was hilarious, but also watching the look on Yvette's face while she's watching her do this, like, I couldn't tell if she was ready to run out of the room or she's like, I'm not gonna let them catch me sweat. She was kind of like,
yeah, that's funny.
It was hilarious. Yeah,
that was funny.
And you guys were having a lot of like technical difficulties in there, right? Like
so many
things kept shutting off or things weren't working right.
Yeah,
and stuff
it was
like
staticky. It was just the whole computer just shut down.
Yeah, yep. The wine.
We spilled wine.
Nobody got charged for that, right?
Messenger.
Interesting.
I think we were getting more interesting brimstone. What the hell does that mean? Fire
you know what's
brimstone?
weird? We didn't talk about something like that last time, did we? The brimstone?
I have to dye my hair, get rid of these grays before we go to California. I cannot wait. We are actually recording a little bit earlier because our normal recording time, I will be in California. So by the time this comes out, I'm going to be like, oh, that's so weird. It feels like such a long time ago.
Yeah.
Anyways, thank you, Bianca, for joining us again tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Look she changed her background.
She did. Well, she got off the bed.
I got kicked out of the room.
But last time she was talking about her background, and now.
Oh, well, because she's at her mom's house this time before she was at home.
Yeah, I like that background.
I like it. I just don't like this extra little stuff here on the side. I could just deal with the sun and the moon and be good.
Right? You can't really see any of the extra stuff unless you, we wouldn't have seen it
unless I show it, and that's me. Like, I'm like looking, I'm like, ew, I hate all this. I hate this corner thing. Like, I don't like all that. I like the sun and the moon, and that's all I want.
The sun and the moon. Sweet. We're old ladies, because I feel it right now.
I'm feeling
it.
I'm ready for a nappy.
Had that little up from the coffee, and now I'm just like,
Are you going down?
And you're yawning.
I peed it all out.
I've been yawning. I've been feeling so horrible because every time Carlene starts talking, I feel like I start yawning, and I felt horrible. I was like, no, it's not Carlene. It's me.
Nope. I don't take offense to it, because this one, she always is like,
I don't mean to do it. That's why I drink the coffee now. That's why, like, I get so self-conscious about it now that every single episode, the last 4 episodes, I've had a cup of coffee before we've started.
But
and I still end up yawning.
Asleep during my own. Oh, shorty.
Anyways,
hi.
I enjoyed your story.
Thanks.
These are some crazy stories to dive into.
These were good stories.
Yeah. You guys let us know what you think in the comments if you're checking us out on YouTube. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And also, tell your friends about us.
Tell a friend.
Tell a friend. And thank you guys, everybody that's listening out there and everybody that's commenting. And thank you guys for participating. We appreciate you guys more than you know.
Yes, we do.
She's like, mm-hmm.
We do. We do.
She's like, I can't wait to get to my bed.
Numbers are good.
Like,
I'm kind of freaked out about going home into my spooky house.
After all of this activity in my
house
non-spooky
has been
house.
super active. Like, I keep hearing, like, papers rustling. They're really, like, being nosy, it sounds like.
They're going through your stuff?
It sounds like, I keep thinking it's Shadow, but
they're
she's
ransacking the Capitol.
Yeah. I'll be
Let's
like,
see what we can find on these motherfuckers.
I'll totally ignore the sounds because I think it's Shadow, and then I'll be like, wait a minute, Shadow is under my covers here with me. Oh, so what was that noise? Sound like somebody doing something.
I'm glad that you and a medium in a very active fucking house can still ask yourself, what the hell is that noise?
Yeah, what is that? Like,
right?
And then
I mean, it makes us.
Are they trying to get my attention, or are they just being busybodies, nosy, going through my shit? I mean, that's fine too. Within my house.
Within her house.
Going through my stuff. Oh.
War.
What is it good for? All right, kids.
We're going to call it a night. Thank you guys for listening. I'm Alma.
I'm Carlene.
I'm Bianca.
That's Bianca.
Good night.
Good night.